Hello, and welcome to another episode of Exit Rich. I'm so delighted to have everyone back on for another special guest. And this is going to be really exciting content, and I think much in demand content, especially for all the salespeople out there. So, this is not necessarily just for business owners like a lot of our content is. This is for everybody out there that's in sales. And you might say, well, I'm not in sales. Everybody's in sales. The person who answers the phone is in sales. The mom who takes care of her children every day, she's in sales. Everybody has some aspect of sales, whether you have a sales profession or not. Everybody has to do sales, and everybody's negotiating something in life. Like they always say, in life you get what you negotiate, right?
That's right.
So let's introduce our very special guest, Stacey Hall. So Stacey Hall is a feature columnist in the network marketing magazine. Her content has also appeared in Authority Magazine, Sales and Marketing Management Magazine, CEO World Magazine. But wait, there's more, folks. And spotlighted on a National Association of Sales Professionals website. She has coached thousands of entrepreneurs on how to attract sales, satisfaction, and of course, success. She is a best selling author, of course, she is. And she's a TEDx presenter and launching social media marketing expert. She's the founder of Success with Stacey Hall and of the groundbreaking social media marketing training program, Go for Yes, Go for Yes. And I
That's
always
right.
tell everybody, go for yes. So many people say, no, no, I can't do that. No, I don't want that. No, 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 no. And then you're closing your mind to the universe because the universe gives you what you ask for. So if you keep saying no, 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 they're going to give you more of no opportunities. You say yes, 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 they're going to load your plate with yes opportunities that you want and deserve. And so her fifth number one book, which you've launched this already, I believe, Stacy,
Yes. Yes.
selling from your comfort zone, selling from your comfort zone. Because so many salespeople, you can tell, are uncomfortable in their own skin.
That's
And we've
right.
got to get people being comfortable with being uncomfortable. The power of alignment marketing. So that's the subtitle. So, Stacy, welcome to the show. We're delighted to have you.
Michelle, it is a joy to be here. I think what you do on your show time after time really opens people's eyes to how important it is in all areas of a business as you're heading towards your exit strategy. And especially how important it is to have an exit strategy. Too often, business owners get started and their nose is, what's the next step? What's the next step? But they don't even realize they don't know where they're heading to. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but I just want to say that's why I'm thrilled to be here with you in your studio.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to have you here because the sales world has not evolved as much as it should have. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we dive in, tell us a little bit about Stacey Hall. What were you like as a little girl?
Well, as a little girl, I loved to write. I'm reading and writing was my thing. So, of course, I'd wind up becoming an author, although I didn't think that when I was a child. I was just writing for myself, to be perfectly honest. And I had the opportunity when I was 12 years old. My parents went on vacation, and Auntie was watching me for 2 weeks, and she was PR director of Sanyo Electronics, which of course doesn't exist anymore, but at the time it was as big as Sony is now.
Mhm.
And she was head of PR. And her job to me was like the most fabulous thing ever. The way she described it to me was she gets to take some of the company's money, do good things in the community, and then write about it. It's like, what could be better than that, right?
Right.
So I went and got a degree in public relations because, as I talk about in the book, and we'll talk about more, my dad was in sales, and because of his experiences and watching him, it was like, I'm not going into sales. I'm going to do something with the company after they've already made the money, right?
Yeah, because sales is a very tough profession. And it's not for the faint of heart either, and it's a lot more harder than people think it is.
It's
So,
it is hard when we're being taught these horrible ways of doing sales, which is
yeah,
of course why we're going to talk about new ways of doing sales. But that tells you a little bit about me and up to college, and then I came out of school and I found out that public relations isn't that. After, a few years later, it was more about publicity. And then I wound up taking my skills because I did get a degree in marketing and advertising along with the PR into marketing and advertising. And then I committed myself to creating programs that would help salespeople and make it easier for them.
got you. Okay, awesome. So you never wanted to be in sales. You saw what your dad went through, how he struggled at Xerox, which is funny because you and I talked
That's
yesterday
right.
about me being the vice president, regional vice president of Xerox. And my nickname was the closer, teaching everybody else how to sell and close deals. So we have that in common. So
Other than
what?
he was not what he didn't work for you. It was before
Oh
you
no,
came
no, no!
after
I never
his
said you
time.
were
Yeah, I
for
don't want to make anybody think that he didn't like you. He would have loved you
Yeah, he was at Xerox in the '60s, I think he told me.
in the 60s trying to do what I'm teaching today, which was so bizarre to them. And like they could not understand his concept of making friendships
Right.
with people.
How did you get into sales then? How did you get into sales training and you know your teaching programs, etc., when you never really wanted to be in sales?
Well, what happened was I wound up working for an ad agency. I'm going to make this very quick. Worked for an ad agency as an account executive for 5 years. Got a great view of all sorts of companies. And then became manager of marketing for Budget Rent-A-Car Corporation for the United States and Canada. And of course, during all of that, I had to understand what the salespeople were up against. And because I did so well there, a headhunter found me, brought me to FedEx to head up a 17-state division for them, helping to bring sales and operations together through marketing programs that incentivized both sides, because
Right.
usually one loses and the other wins. But we brought programs to them that made everybody win. And I loved it. But then things started to change. I'll just leave it at that in terms of direction. And I didn't love the new direction and what I would be doing. And so I decided to go into the education sector. I'm getting to the end, I promise you. And I won't name the university, but I worked for a university as director of membership and marketing for their alumni organization. I hated it. But while I was there, I was asked if I would volunteer for the Small Business Development Center. And they gave me a manual to teach from. And this manual is something that Xerox, like Xerox marketing department might do, not for realtors, not for insurance agents, not for lawyers, not for a typical small business. In that moment, I knew I had to craft my own program for them. So this is like 27 years ago. And it's all fine and good that I crafted it, but then I had to go sell it to somebody. So I became a salesperson and I implemented my own marketing program. And that's the point. If we implement marketing the correct way, we open the door for the salespeople so they don't have to push it in.
What do you? And I love that story. What do you believe that salespeople are doing wrong? Let's start with that real quick.
Well, first off, I want to say to salespeople, you're only doing what you've been taught, and I know that. So it's not that salespeople are uh, causing harm; it's the training they're getting that's causing harm.
So salespeople, relax out there.
Yes, it's like I'm one of you. I'm completely here. We are together. I'm trying to free us out of a prison that has been created and been kept in place for more than 50 years.
Yeah,
Goes back.
I
Go
agree
ahead.
with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. We talked about that before, and I told you my sales philosophy, and you're like, Michelle, that's exactly what all salespeople should be doing. And I've been selling for years and years. And but yeah, I agree. I think they were taught wrong. What makes Let's start real quick with, and we're gonna dive into this, but what makes a good salesperson?
Well, a great salesperson, because
Oh,
I
that's
think
a
you're
great
either bad or
salesperson.
you're great. That's what I would say. It's bad or bad selling techniques, great selling techniques is when we remember that our job as a human being is to listen and
Yep.
solve problems. And we've heard this over and over again, but it's the implementation of how we solve the problem. Are we showing up like we're holding a billboard, or are we showing up like I have no script? I know what my product does, but I want to hear what's going on in your world, prospect, person, ideal audience model. I want to know what's going on. I'm going to be listening to see if what I have is actually going to match what you need, but I'm not going to be ready to pounce on you. I'm going to have a conversation as if we were at a party getting to know each other because we were just introduced by somebody,
Yeah.
and I'm going
Or
to be
like
a
when you
human
go
being.
on a first date, right? When you go on a first date,
I love first dates can be awkward.
you
I'm
want to get
just,
to know that person. You don't want to pounce on them and tell them your whole life story.
no, you
And
don't want to. People do, but that's why I don't use the first date because I think we've all had really bad first dates. But I think we've all been at an event where somebody either introduced us, which is I like to say social media introduces us to people like a host at a party, or two people were kind of standing around not talking to anybody else, and you say, ah, maybe I should go meet that person. And in that situation, we're always a little more timid, we're always a little more courteous, we're always a little more willing to listen. That's why I choose that metaphor more than any other.
yeah. Well, it's kind of like my story I told you where I was competing against Xerox. I was selling for OSE, and Xerox would walk in with a team of 5 or 6 men, no women back then, 5 or 6 men, and they had donuts. And I would walk in, just me, no donuts, no anything. But my approach was so much different than theirs, and I won the business every time. They could never ever beat me, which is why Xerox hired me.
Yes, yes,
And so it doesn't
exactly.
matter about the dog and pony show. It doesn't matter about the donuts. It doesn't matter about any of that. It matters about really listening, getting to know them as a person, building that rapport. And you've got lots of steps for that. What do you think? I know the perception has changed dramatically, but what do you think the perception is now about salespeople versus what it was in the past?
I would
How's
say
it
maybe
changed?
20%. 20, I believe that 100% of salespeople have heard that we need to be a human being. But I can also tell you that HubSpot will say that of a survey of people that they surveyed, hundreds, when they asked those people, what definition do you give to a salesperson? Like, what word do you associate with a salesperson? The word is pushy. Now, that wouldn't be the case if the majority of salespeople were actually acting like human beings. So that's why I say it's maybe we're 20% better than we were 50 years ago. But again, it's not the salespeople, it's the training they go through that they're told this is what you must do if you're going to sell for our company.
And it's the perception because you mentioned something to me when we talked about, you go to a doctor, right? they're telling, they're selling you, right? They're selling you, nurse. We had this conversation, and you said nobody questions when a doctor sells you something. Nobody questions when a lawyer sells you something. Nobody questions when all these professionals traits sell you something. But yeah, we're the ones who have the bad reputation. Salespeople do. Am I making sense?
You're making sense completely. And we're seeing. I appreciate all the questions that are coming in too.
We'll get to those.
The most important thing to remember for us as a salesperson is that we perform as noble a function as a nurse, as a chiropractor, as a massage therapist, even a doctor. And I say doctor because, there's mixed feelings, but nurses, chiropractors, massage therapists, they're all trying to identify where it hurts. Where does it hurt? So that they can apply the correct solution.
Right.
That's what a salesperson's supposed to do too. Tell me where it hurts.
Yep.
But I don't know one salesperson who has ever said that to a prospect. Actually, like that. It's just, I'm here
I said
to
that to
help.
you yesterday.
That's
Remember?
I'm sorry. Yes, but exactly. You went in and said, "Tell me where it hurts."
I asked them, what's your pain? Tell
Yeah.
me where
What's
your
your
pain.
pain? There you go.
What's your pain? Tell me what your pain points are. Let's solve the pain. Let's fix the pain. All right. So yeah, we do have a lot of questions coming in. Um, I want to get into the critical steps that all salespeople should follow, because I know you've got your steps, right? It's like me, I have my 6 P's in my book Exit Rich. But let's just jump a few questions in here, and then we'll get back
Okay,
to
sounds
all of
good.
that. So Jacob says you discuss in your book the concept of selling in a way that aligns with one's authentic self. Look, I can't see very well, even with my glasses, so I'm squinting. Which key insights do you think have resonated the most with your readers?
Okay. Well,
Somebody's
uh,
read your book. Woo!
yeah, I'm impressed. Very impressed. So the key insights that people are resonating with are is exactly what actually Michelle was just about to ask me, which is what's my steps? What's the formula? The formula is the alignment marketing formula. It has 3 parts to it. I call it the new ABCs of selling. Alignment, belief, consistency will always equal sales satisfaction and success. So the key elements are in alignment. We have 4 parts as a salesperson that have to be aligned.
Okay, for 1 second, somebody put in the show notes on my team that alignment. Put the steps real quick. Alignment, belief,
Alignment, belief, consistency. So alignment plus
consistency.
belief times consistent action
Okay, so
will
someone in my
always
team,
equal.
someone on my team, put that in our comments, please.
Yes,
All
and
right,
it will always equal sales satisfaction and success.
now, okay, hopefully y'all got that.
It's yeah,
Say one
alignment,
more
belief.
time, Stacy. One more time.
I'm good. That's perfectly fine. There it is. It's there. Alignment,
Oh,
belief,
perfect.
consistency.
I have a good team.
You sure do. And I appreciate everybody doing that. Thank you.
So
So,
tell us about alignment. What are the 4 things they need to align with?
yeah, the 4 parts are first, and this is what you asked me about a percentage. Get this statistic. HubSpot 2 years ago survey asked salespeople, do you believe you're selling the right thing? And 55% said no.
Wow.
It's like disgusting.
Yeah.
55% of salespeople know they're selling the wrong thing. That is misalignment.
And that's one reason they're not successful, because they don't believe in it themselves. And it's hard to sell somebody else something you don't believe in.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right
So
there.
let's put that comment in there too. 55% of salespeople don't believe that they're selling
Yeah. It was
the,
a HubSpot
the
survey,
right
if I
product.
remember correctly. It's in my book.
Okay.
It was either Harvard Business Review, but I'm pretty sure it was HubSpot. So with that, first and foremost is we got to know, why am I in sales in the first place? What is it that I want to make better in the world? That's the first part. The second part is getting in alignment with a company or a service or our own business, but making sure that we do believe, and belief becomes more important in the second part of it. Right here is, am I now selling something that is in alignment with what I want to do in the world? So it's a calling. And some people might say, Stacey, now you're into the woo woo. More and more studies are proving that people are leaving corporate jobs in droves because they have to have work that's meaningful and is a calling. It's no longer woo woo, it is internally intrinsic important, right?
Oh,
So that's the second part of alignment. The
okay.
third part of alignment is making sure that even when we found a company or a product or a service, that their mission and purpose is in alignment with ours. And then the fourth is getting in alignment with our audience, not the audience the company says you should go. Here's your geographic territory.
Yep.
You can sell to anybody in there. No, no, no. Companies, it's time for sales managers to allow salespeople to become clear who they would resonate with the most, that would need the product service, and then incentivize them based on the territory they create for themselves. So that's alignment, the four parts.
So what about drug dealers? They're obviously not in alignment.
I don't know. I don't know why you would say that. I'm not in condone. I mean, you kind of put me in a position
No,
here
no,
because
I don't mean to
I
put you in
don't
a position.
condone drug dealing, but
It's just
a
a funny.
soundbite could be really weird here.
It's just
But
a
I'm
funny.
just
It's
going to
a funny
say,
thing. Yeah.
in the principle of alignment, if their mission is to do something that's involved with drugs and they're doing it, then they would be in alignment with themselves.
So, all right. So let's move on to beliefs.
Well, so you know how there's so many people that teach confidence building techniques.
Yeah.
We don't need confidence building techniques if we stay in our comfort zone. Now, comfort zone doesn't mean laziness. Okay. So the other reason I bring this up is because nowhere is it taught more often to get out of your comfort zone than to salespeople. They hear it more than any other people ever hear it. And it is most damaging. And I'm going to prove it to you. Core values, skills, talents, gifts, right?
Yep.
Purpose, all live within ourselves. What we would say is our comfort zone. That's where we feel comfortable. That's where we feel confident. So again, first step of alignment is making sure all of that is harmonized, that a part of us isn't hanging out over here. It's all together. When I've got that, and I know why I'm representing what I'm representing, and I know who I want to represent it to, my belief is right there. My confidence there. I know what I'm doing and I have strengths to build from. I don't need somebody to teach me artificial confidence building techniques. Okay.
So
I
do you
don't
believe?
need anybody to reinforce that I'm enough. I know I'm enough. Okay. From that belief, I can now have empathy with an audience. So they believe in me. Does that
Gotcha.
make sense? Okay.
Yeah, that
So,
makes total sense. I do believe people should continue to stretch themselves out of their comfort zone so they learn new things, so they continue to grow, so they don't plateau. And I do always tell my clients, we got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, especially entrepreneurs, because we'll never grow the business beyond what we can grow them.
isn't it possible though to expand from our
Yeah,
strength to grow?
expand.
That's what
Yep,
I say. Because
yep.
how many times have people said, I've reached my breaking point? That's outside their comfort zone. So why not expand from our
They
strengths
gotta
and keep,
expand, and they gotta also start to get comfortable being uncomfortable as well. I mean, I remember the first time, Stacey, I spoke on stage in front of 800 people. I thought I was gonna pass out. I,
okay,
I made myself ill. I wasn't gonna do it. My speaking coach said, "Listen, you're gonna get up there, even if I have to drag you by your hair. You're getting up there and you're speaking." I'm like, "No, what's the benefit in this? What's your ROI?" I was like, I'm not doing it. And anyway, he made me get up there and I did it. And I was so proud of myself for doing it and just wanted more and more of that. And if he didn't force me to get up on that stage, I probably would have never done it,
okay.
which has opened up so many other speaking opportunities. And now I'm an international speaker.
Well, I see that, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here because you hired a coach to help you expand. So you made it more comfortable. And I can promise you, if you didn't see the reason to get on that stage, you would never have gotten on that stage. So getting out of our comfort zone doesn't mean we can't be uncomfortable. Expanding to learn how to do things we want to learn how to do. What I'm talking about in sales is when a sales manager tells somebody that they're doing things the wrong way and they have to get out of their comfort zone, and now they have no idea how to do it, what to do, or where to go, and they become dependent on the person who's telling them to get out of their comfort zone. And that's what I rail against.
Yeah, and I agree with that. If I didn't have somebody getting me up there, number one, I was extremely uncomfortable. My, how you're panicking, your hands are sweaty, you can't breathe, you feel sick to your stomach. I was definitely uncomfortable. But you got to get the right coach, you got to get the right mentor, and you got to have that coaching side by side with you to hold your hand basically until you get comfortable doing something new.
Exactly. So expansion is uncomfortable. The growing pains are uncomfortable, but they're still within our zone of ability. And as you said, get a coach, get a mentor to make it easier.
Yeah.
But don't get to the point where it is so inconceivable to do it that somebody really has to do it for you. And and that happens far too often.
Yeah, and then you have to really look and say, okay, this person has to ask themselves, am I the right fit? Should I be doing
Exactly.
this? Is this an industry I should be in? Should I be selling? Should I be doing something else? Right? You got to do some soul searching. I always work with my owners to get them to grow, to get them to be uncomfortable. Otherwise, we're just going to continue to do the same thing that will continue to produce the same results that they've always gotten.
And I'm with you.
So,
That's the definition of crazy as we know. So I'm not saying
absolutely.
that you stay small. I'm saying if you've got goals, then it's going to require to grow, but let's grow using what we've already got. And then add somebody in as a mentor, a coach, a consultant to give us bigger perspectives into places where we've never been and choose whether we're going to go there or not.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
identify, like you just said a minute ago, identify your superpower, What's your
that's
superpower?
it.
What's your superhero within yourself? All right, so we talked about the first one, alignment, then we talked about beliefs, and the third one,
The third one is consistent action. So again, and listen, I love all the coaches who talk about personal growth and belief and consistency. I've learned from many of them. What I've also learned is when I believe in what I'm doing, and I feel that other people are believing in it too. And I will say this, psychologists have proven the more validation we give to ourselves, the better. Like too many people are outwardly connected, expecting to get validation, and when they don't, it affects them. But psychologists have proven through neuroscience we can validate ourselves, and it means more than any validation that comes from outside. So that's why belief is so important of in ourselves.
mm-hmm,
When we believe and we know what we're doing,
mm-hmm,
we'll stay consistent. Now, we may be growing in new skills. Like I may want to learn how to do video editing. I'm not a video editor, but maybe I want to learn that skill. I will go hire a consultant to help me or a techie to help me teach me how to do that. Yes, it's new. Yes, it's going to be a little uncomfortable. But if I want to do it, I will do it because I can see how it's going to get me to my goal. So again, we don't have to teach people how to be consistent or how to create a daily method of operation when they already know what they want to do and who they want to do it for and where to meet those people, and then it just comes. It's our passion. Somebody who wants to learn how to play the guitar doesn't need to be taught to pick up the guitar and play the guitar. They're going to pick it up. They're going to get the training. They're going to do what they want to do with the guitar as often as they can possibly do it. So that's why I'm saying if we have to teach people how to be consistent, they're obviously not in their passion. They're not in alignment with what they're supposed to be doing as a salesperson.
yeah, and a lot of people in sales really don't want to be in sales.
That's the
They
point.
see it as a high ticket. They see it as just providing for their family, a means to an end. They don't really want to be in it. A lot of those people just cringe it and can't stand it. So yeah, we have to find those passionate people. All right, I'll get to a couple more questions
Sure.
here because there's so many. Um, how can okay, so Matt, how can sales professionals establish connections and create long-lasting relationships with their clients?
I missed part of that.
Oh, you're gonna make me strain again. Okay.
I'm not able to scroll, so I can't see it. It's not on
It's
my
okay, I
not on
got
my
it.
screen.
How can sales professionals establish connections and create long-lasting relationships with clients?
My favorite question. My favorite question. Let's go. Let's do this. All right. This I'm going to give an example of what we don't want to do. And this happened this morning, and I could go through every single day of my life because I'm pretty exposed on social media, so people find me. And I got a message, a direct message this morning from someone, and a very well crafted but copy paste message. I can tell we've got friends in common. Don't tell me who they are. And I know that you're involved in personal growth and development because, of course, she must have found that I was a coach of some sort. Okay. I'd love to know what authors you follow. Okay. You
Okay.
might say that's a little more clever, like she's trying to make a connection with me. Nah, because here's why. Person never went to my social profiles and read anything I said and commented on it. So already I know they never took the time to really research me.
You know who you're reminding me of right now?
No.
Dr. Meisner, the founder of BNI, the largest networking business networking group in the world. He says the exact same thing. Don't tell me you appreciate my social media when you've never been on it, when you've never
That's
liked it, when you've never commented. You like you just
it. Then
you're
it gets
just
worse. Exactly. I'm going to say thank you for the compliment, but Eddie, it's common sense.
yeah.
So it gets worse.
Common sense is not so common anymore. You know that, right?
Yes, but I'm saying let's get back to it. So
Let's get
so
to it.
I don't just dismiss somebody out of hand. I'm like, well, that's interesting. Didn't send me a friend request or a connection request either. So of course the message came up as it was a message request, not actually in my messages. And so I went to look at this person. Are they a spammer? Are they a hacker? No, this person's an actual real human being, but is definitely promoting something on their page. You can say she's got some sort of training coming up.
Right.
So I looked for a post that had nothing to do with their training and I commented on it. Just made a short comment. She replied to that, but still no reply to the private. Now she sent the message to me and I wrote her back and I said, thanks for reaching out, but it doesn't look like you've looked at my content because I don't see any comments. Right?
Right.
Still no. Like she replies to the one that I put on her page, still doesn't think to go over to my page and put anything there, nor come back to the message she sent to see if I replied. Now, why am I bringing this up in answer to the person who asked me? Because this happens all the time. I get pitched. Well, see, even if it doesn't have a link in it to go look at something, I get the message. It's a pitch. I reply. 9 times out of 10, I don't get a reply back at all. Why are we sending messages then if you're not going to check back to see if anybody responded? So that's the first foremost. And yes, I'm on my soapbox because it's like, how stupid is that? So you're asking about making a connection? If you're going to send out information, check back to see if the person responded. Okay, now, what I'm really saying is don't send anything until you've researched the person. Okay? So if you're on LinkedIn or on Facebook or wherever you are making your connections and you want to talk to somebody in a particular industry or with a particular title, and you search, you hashtag that, and now you've got a list of people that you could contact. Do not be in such a rush that you're dropping messages like this, like you're throwing them out like softballs. Take each one. Look to see, has this person posted anything themselves? Can you comment on it? Look to see what they've put in their profile about who they are and what they're about. Look to see if you have a point, a true point of connection. It takes maybe 5 minutes. Then, when we send a connection request of any sort, refer to that. You can say, I really loved that post that you put out on such and such date. And here's why. Now we're starting conversation. So I hope that that is an answer, because the person who asked that may have expected a whole long strategy. I'm saying, can we get back to human beings? Can we get back to somebody says something at a party and you go, yeah, that really made me think. Not they said something and then we all of a sudden pitch them our stuff. I don't
And
know,
that's what's
Michelle.
happening so often.
Yeah.
I agree 1,000% to that. And before we run out of time, there's so many questions here, so we're obviously going to have you back on.
Even though I disagreed with you.
Oh, I don't care. I'm in a male-dominated industry. I own multiple businesses. If I cared about anybody who ever disagreed with me, then I wouldn't still be around and still have stickability and continue to grow my business and grow my partners.
It's, well, it's why I admire you and adore you. And the point is consultation. I also don't like yes people. I like folks to challenge me and all of that. So it makes it
Oh,
more fun.
I'll challenge you. We'll challenge each other.
Love it.
All right, so let's get into. There's a bunch of questions, but let's get into some other stuff. Um, let's get into management because, like you said before, a lot of it is about the training, it's about the management, it's about the leadership. With salespeople, they're not trained properly, they're not mentored, they're not given proper instructions, etc. And so, what do you feel sales managers are doing wrong, which is leading people which is really leading people into leaving the industry altogether. Talk to us a little bit about that. Let's
Well,
shift focus
you
a little bit.
you actually brought it up at the beginning, which is sales managers who are still teaching the processes, strategies that have people already ready to say no. Already ready to say no. And Michelle, that's what I said yesterday that I loved about your approaches from the very beginning, because you didn't set people up to say no. You didn't go armed in with a script ready to hear the no so that you can do the objection response, right?
Yeah,
So,
because the
sales,
average out there is, and I'm going to cut you off, but the average
yeah,
out there is it takes 5 no's to get a yes, and many salespeople have heard that and are like, okay, let me get my 5 no's so I can get my yes.
and it won't ever come.
So go
It
ahead.
will not ever come. The people who say that they're doing that are actually not. If you dissect what they're really doing, it's they're not actually going for the no, but they may want to say that they are. But for those of us who want to go for the yes, it starts with what I've just already shared, how you do the research, because we cannot sell until people trust us. So back to sales managers,
Yeah,
I don't believe that most sales training programs are teaching how to build trust. It's sort of like the afterthought. And if you do all of this, make sure that they trust you before you start selling. No, there is a way to begin from the beginning where we're acknowledging people sincerely. We're showing them we're listening to them. We're not prepared to immediately offer a pitch. Maybe the first time we don't say anything at all about our company. We just ask more and more questions, because acknowledgement and questions and repeating back to people to prove that we've heard them starts to build trust. And people who want, and that's, Michelle, what you did. That's why you didn't need donuts. Like, yeah, you can get in the door with
and
donuts
I
and
didn't need five
croissants.
men around me either.
That's right. That's right.
People buy from who they trust, but they also buy from whom they like.
That's right.
People buy people.
That's right. And it's the same. If we trust somebody, we like them. We feel our nervous system calms down.
Yeah.
And whether we're consciously realizing it or not, we feel it. So what gets associated is, I like Michelle. Oh, yeah, Michelle's on the phone. Tell her to hold on for a second. I want to talk to her. Oh, you want to come on over? Sure. Because in their mind, they're associating you with a good time, not in an appropriate way, but it's like, I know I'm going to feel good when I talk to Michelle, as
Yeah.
opposed to, I know I'm going to have my guard up when I talk to Spammy Pammy. Okay. It is
Big
truly,
difference. Big difference. I love to put that in the chat.
it's, it is true.
Yeah.
And sales
But they'll
managers,
blow it
and
up when they know they're talking spammy pammy. So make sure we get that in the comments because
yeah,
I love that quote. Go ahead.
thank you. Well, I'm just saying that's what has to be taught. How do we become somebody who's trustworthy? And how do we convey that people can trust us?
Hmm.
And it doesn't come by saying, just trust me. Like the minute you hear
No, when
somebody
you say
say,
just trust me, your defenses go up
exactly,
like fingers on a chalkboard.
exactly, just trust me. I know what your problem is and I've got the solution for it. You might as well have not opened your mouth at all because you would have been further ahead if you kept your mouth shut, right?
Yeah, and the other thing too, I don't, it's hard to sell somebody something if you don't know that person
That's right.
and if you don't know what their pain is and how it would make their life better if you fix their pain, if you solve their problems, and what that means to them and the quality of their life and to their family. And so, how could you ever sell somebody anything without really knowing them? How deep
You
is that?
can't. That's the point. You can pitch, you can't sell. Two different things. You can market to somebody you don't know anything about because you can write promotional copy and hope that somebody resonates with it. But in the sales position, which comes after marketing, it's not sales and marketing, as you well know, it's marketing, then selling. And the sales piece cannot be replaced by AI or robots or marketing material. It does require the human being. So here's the
Amen.
first.
Can we just put that in the comments real quick? Because that's important, Stacy. Salespeople are not going to be replaced by AI or software. We're starting our own AI software development proprietary programs. And someone said to me the other day, "Yeah, Michelle, M&A advisors won't be needed anymore." I'm like, "Are you kidding?" AI might streamline a lot of things, but who's going to hold their hand?
That's
Who's
right.
gonna, who's going to help them from buyer's remorse or seller's remorse? Who's going to be there to deal with some emotional issues? I remember one time when I was selling, one guy says to me, "Look, I just believe in God. Whatever God tells me to do, I'm going to do." So he went with my competitor because God told him so. I went over there to his office. It was for the Frito Lay account that I was working on. Went over there and said, "Look, let's pray. Let's hold hands. Let's pray to God together, and let's do that." And he looked at me and like I'm insane, but I got on his level, and he's like, "You know what? Let me review your proposal again." And he ended up going with us. AI is never going to do that.
That's right.
That was a quick
Absolutely
story I
right.
told, but there's a lot more to that.
No, it's
Go ahead.
I kept quiet because it's exactly that. I'll tell you a story from years ago when I'm still friends. We're still friends, and he's not in the industry anymore. But I'm going to give a shout out to Pete Hoffman. When I was at the ad agency, Pete was a sales rep for one of the radio stations, and his station that he repped at the beginning was not a fit for my clients. But he would come over. And what he did really well is he knew the whole industry. He didn't just know his station. He knew the whole industry. And he would periodically send me reports of things and say, if this might help you. We got to know each other. He would throw parties, real parties, like at his home with his friends and all that. I got invited. I got to know him as a friend. He eventually went to another radio station. Who do you think I asked for? They assigned me somebody, and I said, no, no, no. Oh, no, no, no. I can finally buy from this guy. He's my sales rep. Okay. And we stayed friends. He wound up going to repping a magazine later on that wasn't a fit for my clients, and then I moved on. But we've stayed friends through all these years because that man became a trusted advisor to me. I would confide things in him knowing it wasn't going to go anywhere else, and he would give me insights that made me smarter about what I was doing, and he really contributed to the success, my early days success in the business. That's what a salesperson is, and AI could give me some information, but I can't confide in AI, right? I can't. Having that person who became a dear friend, still is, was priceless.
Yeah, AI is not going to step in and hold that guy's hand and pray with him.
Exactly, not at all.
How do sales managers really find the right salespeople? How can they do that? Because that's the
Well,
biggest struggle for companies. I mean, all the companies I deal with, like Michelle, if I could just get the right sales team, if I could just get the right salespeople in, how do they do that?
well, and you know, Michelle, about I think the average right now is 50% of sales jobs are not filled across the board.
50% of sales
Now,
jobs. Okay.
50%.
Help solve that problem for us right now, Stacy.
Well, I'm going to say if a sales manager actually followed the alignment marketing formula, they would as well. So, turnover or a lack of being able to hire comes from not being clear what the company is really all about. What are their goals? What are their mission? Every company has a mission statement. I know that. But I'm saying the sales manager, when they're looking for somebody to take that message out into the world, is often not very clear themselves about who they want to have on their team. And I'm not talking about physical characteristics, let's put it that way. I'm talking about, do you know the different audiences that could use this product? And are you identifying when you're in your hiring process people that would resonate with one or more of those audiences? And in your hiring process, are you talking about those audiences and asking how could this prospective salesperson, what stories do they have from their own personal experience that would resonate, that would replicate what they would be talking about out in the field with a prospect? And being able to be a matchmaker more than a hirer. I think that's, or more than a hiring. I swear, it's just, you can tick off boxes or you can explore and discover people's true passions and then match them up with the right kinds of prospects to help them enjoy the job more. Makes it easier on the manager to manage. But if you're confined to certain kinds of human resources um, reviews, let's put it that way, so that it looks more like people are taking a test in school rather than actually being human beings as adults, that's what's going to cause and is causing this huge gap in people saying, I do not want to turn myself into a human billboard. Thank you very much. I will go do something else, or I'll go create my own company and sell the way I want to sell, do what I want to do. May not be making as much money, but they're going to feel more fulfilled.
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of, I think sales managers are so quick to hire, right? So quick
Yeah,
to hire. And it needs to be slow to hire, quick to fire. But they're so slow, so quick to hire when you really, instead of checking those boxes, it's the same thing what you're saying. You really have to get to know those people. You got to find out what makes them tick instead of just ticking off boxes. And you got to know what's most important to them, what their values are, what they're trying to achieve, what their goals are,
exactly.
etc.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so many people don't do that because they try to rush the process because they need to put butts in the seat, and start selling. So you just got to take more time to get to know people. Like you said, the human factor has to come into play. All right. So let's see here. All right, what's your marketing formula? Because you not just sales. I mean, you're huge marketing. Like you dropped some huge golden nuggets earlier when we talked about on social media. Respond to the post. You can ask a question. You can put something on there. Make sure you reply. Make sure you look. Make sure you do your research. But what is alignment marketing formula, and how does it help sales managers to train their sales team to make more sales, enjoy more satisfaction, and obviously achieve more success? What is that formula?
Well, again, alignment, belief, consistency. And if now it's being applied, so I spoke about it before about how a salesperson can get themselves into alignment. If you're asking now about the sales manager, same thing. The sales manager has to get in alignment with themselves as to why are they there in that position. I have known sales managers who became sales managers for ego only, for the title, as opposed to any real passion to develop leaders on their team.
Yeah.
And so being in alignment with what does it mean to be a manager of other people is where it all has to begin. And then being able to identify who is it you want to serve? How do you want to serve them? Because a sales manager, their audience is their team. Their audience is their team and the company's audience, both. So
Right.
they have to be able to expand and say, okay, I want to serve my team in this way, and I want to serve our audience in this way, which means I have to make sure my team can serve the audience in this way. And I'm not saying there's bad sales managers. I think there's really wonderful sales managers out there. I just don't think they're all the sales managers.
It's any profession. You're gonna have the good with the bad, right?
Right,
And
right. And so then it goes from there. They know what they're up to. They know how to put together programs that are going to support their team. They know what kinds of consultants or trainers to bring in to add to what they have the ability to do. And then they're going to be consistent in how they support their team to show up and be great.
okay. So moving on real quick because we only have about 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes. So why yes? Why say yes all the time? Why yes? Why are you the yes gal? You're
Well,
the
I'm the yes gal because I'm teaching people how to hear a yes, how to get a yes, as opposed to, yes, we say yes to ourselves in alignment. It's the process of having somebody say yes to us is doesn't go from, hi, here's my product, so that there's only one yes or no possibility. I teach an 8 step strategy where you're getting small yeses each step of the way, and when people get used to saying yes to us, it becomes very easy to then say yes to the big stuff. So, my 8 steps to a sale, which is the gift that I had wanted to share with everybody here, that training is
Can
how
we
you
get
get
through that?
yeses along the way.
Can we get through that in 5 minutes?
Well, I'm just going to say no, but if I'm giving it for free to everybody who's watching, and I know you're going to drop the link so people can watch it, but it's eight ways to get small yeses that lead to the big yes.
Okay, give us a couple. Throw us a couple bones.
All right. Well, first you have to know how to speak about yourself. Different from I represent copiers. No, what problems are you uniquely qualified to solve? Being able to say that to somebody in a one sentence. So I solve the problem primarily of salespeople who are tired of getting out of their comfort zone and are not making enough sales. That's the problem I solve. And I get them back into their comfort zone, back into their power zone, so they can make more sales, have more satisfaction, and more success. When I tell people that, they want to know how I do that. Okay. I'm not saying I'm a coach.
Okay.
They say I'm a
Sounds
coach,
like
they're
you
going
don't
to
quote.
dismiss me, right? Another way is having some sets of valuable content. Like I said, Pete Hoffman used to send me reports about the industry that he used to get, an insider's report.
Yeah.
And he'd say, listen, I think, this will help you in being able to make decisions. Even if it meant that I was making decisions away from his station, he was caring about what I had to offer. And he'd say, do you want me to send this over? And I would say, of course I do. And he'd say, I can deliver it, I can email it. What do you want? You want to go to lunch? I'll bring it to you for lunch. I'd say, no, I don't have time for lunch, but send it over. And then I would say, thank you. And then he might check back with me and go, did you find anything in the report that was really of value to you? The man knew I wasn't going to buy his station at that time, but he still kept sending me valuable information that I said yes to. So that when, as I said before, when he switched to another station and I could buy that station in all integrity for my client, he was the one I was going to buy it from. So these are the ways that I always say, if you don't have the time to build a true relationship, don't be a salesperson
It's
because it isn't going to
all about relationships. Most
sit.
of my clients have been my best friends. I've been at their weddings, I've been at their baby
Yes,
showers, I unfortunately been to some funerals. You know, if you do it right, then we'll be friends for life.
that's right. That's it right there. What she just said in
If
gold,
we're right, then we
right there.
right. And you really should be more interested in a relationship than about the sales. Those people got to stop thinking about themselves and don't count your money at the table, like Kenny Rogers says.
Yes,
And really think about how you're going to better the life of your client versus how you're going to better your bank account. Because once you're focused on your bank account, then you're not going to be focused on your client. And where focus goes, energy flows.
that's my favorite phrase. That's exactly it. What you put your attention on. So people would say, well, if I put the attention on the money, I'll get the money. Yeah, but maybe not in the situation that you're in. That's where the alignment comes from. If you want to be focused on money,
Yeah.
go represent a financial services firm.
And you might get the money, but it might not be ethical too, in the way in which you're getting your money. Even dealing with your clients. I mean, I've seen salespeople forge paperwork. I've seen them do
That's
all kinds
right.
of stuff that are unethical. So, any last minute thoughts? And then let's tell all of our listeners how they can find out more about the fabulous Stacey Hall.
Well, thank you very much. Well, what I would like to say is please remember the comfort zone is not the lazy zone, it's your power zone. And don't let anybody tell you you have to get out of it to be successful because once you're out of it, you don't know where you are. And then you have to follow their way, not your way. And I'm saying this to sales managers, please don't tell your salespeople to get out of their comfort zone. Find out what their strengths are, what they're good at, what stories they have, and what passion they have for selling the product or the service. And if you can't identify a passion and they can't identify a passion, be kind and encourage them to maybe go do something else and bring people in who have a definite connection to
Yeah,
what the
don't
company
hold
is
on to
selling.
them too long. That's the biggest mistake the companies make. Is again, uh, quick to hire, slow to fire. It needs to be slow to hire, quick to fire. But a lot of my clients keep on hanging on to salespeople
Yeah.
too long, and some of them are making really big salaries and not doing anything but playing on their computer.
Well, yeah, though that might be their passion, but is it good for the company? Probably not. But I mostly am saying if you know a salesperson is not passionate anymore about what they're doing, the kindest thing you can do is release them for them to find what would be
Yeah,
perfect for
because
them
they're
to
not
do.
any good for you and they're not any good for themselves. They're not
No, they're
providing you
not.
value or providing themselves value. All right. So, how can all of our listeners find more out about you? We'll include all your links in the show notes. But what's the best way to contact you and get your latest book?
Okay, well, my comfort zone is where everybody will find me in every aspect, including the book, and that's my website, which is Stacey, Stacey, Ann, Hall. So my middle name is Ann, StaceyAnnHall.com. Really simple.
The
There's
Yes
a tab,
Gal. The Yes Gal.
the Yes Gal. Yes. And there's a tab for the book and there's a tab for courses. And if you click the tab for courses, the very first course is 8 Steps to a Sale and it's no charge. You can just download it right there. Thank
Eight steps
you.
to a sell. Everybody go out and get that. And all of our listeners, thank you so much for
Oh,
tuning in and really listening to another episode of, Exit Rich. Make sure you share this with your network, your spheres of influence. We'll see you next time. Bye bye. all of your friends, co-workers, fellow entrepreneurs, and subscribe to Exit Rich. And you can do one better. Comment on our Facebook page, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, how much you like this episode and what you got out of this, and we'll send you the first 3 chapters of Exit Rich. So go out and do that and get your first 3 chapters of Exit Rich. Till we see you next time, next Wednesday on Exit Rich. Thank you so much, Stacey, for being such a great guest and
Thank
dropping
you.
so many great golden nuggets. Until next time, my friends.